Well, Carol stood at the observation window of the orbital station and looked out at the stars. Somewhere beyond those distant points of light, an army was waiting. The largest invasion fleet the galaxy had ever seen was gathering in the darkness, and it was coming for Earth. She'd been awake for 36 hours now. Sleep felt like a luxury she could not afford. The reports on her desk told a story that would make any commander lose hope. 12,000 warships were positioned near the edge of the solar system. Earth had 800 ships to defend itself. The math was simple and brutal. And entered the command center with a tablet in his hands. He was young, barely 30 years old, but he had proven himself to be one of the best tactical officers in the fleet. His face was pale as he approached the admiral. Latest intelligence report just came in, he said. They are planning to attack at dawn. They want to hit us during shift change when our crews are at their weakest. Slowly, the aliens had studied human pattern well. They knew that the transition between night and day shifts created confusion and delays. It was a smart strategy for an overwhelming force. They could simply crush Earth's defenses while humans stumbled over themselves. And Diane Cole walked in behind. She was the one who had decoded the alien fleet movements in the first place. Her team had worked for weeks to crack the communication signal. The information she brought had confirmed everyone's worst fears. I'm not coming to conquer us, Cole said quietly. The transmissions make it clear. They plan to destroy everything. Every city, every station, every ship. They want to make an example of humanity. Away from the window and faced her two officers. The weight of the moment pressed down on all of them. Outside, Earth hung in the blacks of space, blue and green and beautiful. 7 billion people were sleeping down there, unaware that an alien armada wanted to burn their world to ash. What are our options? The admiral asked. Up a display showing the position of Earth's fleet. The ships were spread across various defense positions, ready to intercept the enemy when they arrived. It was a standard formation designed to delay and harass a larger force. We can hold them for maybe 3 hours if we fight defensively, he said. After that, they will break through and reach Earth. Our ground defenses might last another hour. Then it will be over. Shook her head. Running is not an option either. We have evacuation ships, but they can only carry a few thousand people. They will hunt down anyone who escapes. To the center of the room, where a large holographic display showed the entire solar system. The red dots representing the fleet formed a massive cloud near the outer planets. The blue dots of Earth's fleet looked tiny in comparison. Stared at the display for a long time without speaking. Her mind was racing through every battle she had ever studied, every tact she had ever learned. There had to be something. There was always something. An idea began to form in her thoughts. It was crazy. It was reckless. It went against everything she had been taught about military strategy, but it was also the only chance they had. But if we do not wait for them to come to us, she said slowly. Cole exchanged confused looks. Admiral said carefully, attacking them would be suicide. We are outnumbered 15 to 1. All for the first time in days. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had nothing left to lose. Expect us to fight like every other species they have conquered, she said. They expect us to build walls and hide behind them. They expect us to wait for death to come. But humans did not survive on Earth by being predictable. Pointed at the holographic display. They evolved on a world that is tightly locked. One side always faces their sun, one side is always dark. They have never known night the way we have. They have never hunted in the darkness. Cole's eyes widened as she began to understand. You want to attack them at night. Want to attack them at midnight, confirmed. Our midnight, when their confidence is highest and their guard is lowest. We will not give them the battle they expect. We will give them terror. He's already running calculations on his tablet. If we use the asteroid field for cover, we could get close without being detected. Our ships are smaller and faster than theirs. We could use micro-jump technology to appear inside their formation. It fell silent as everyone considered the plan. It was dangerous beyond measure. They would be flying straight into the heart of an enemy force that could destroy them 100 times over. Many ships would not come back. It was also brilliant. They had never faced an enemy that attacked first. They had never fought in confusion and chaos. They had conquered dozens of species by being bigger and stronger, but they had never met a species that refused to play by the rules. They had the communication system and opened a channel to every ship in Earth's fleet. Her voice was calm and steady as she spoke. Admiral, in 6 hours we will launch an attack on the Armada. I will not lie to you. Many of us will die tonight. But if we do nothing, everyone dies tomorrow. We are going to show these aliens what happens when you threaten humanity. We are going to teach them why the darkness should be feared. Prepare your ships and say goodbye to your families. We strike at midnight. Closed the channel and looked at it in Cole. Both officers stood them before. Fear was still in their eyes, but something else was there too. Hope. Hit me. The fleet commanders on the secure line ordered. We have a battle plan. At the window, Earth continued its slow rotation through space. The sun was setting over the Pacific Ocean. In a few hours, midnight would arrive, and with it, humanity would make its stand. Fleet moved through space in complete silence. 800 warships traveled with their lights off and their engines running at minimum power. They looked like ghosts drifting through the void. Henry stood on the bridge of the destroyer USS Blackwood and watched the darkness ahead. His crew worked quietly around him, checking systems and preparing weapons. No one spoke unless absolutely necessary. Even their breathing seemed too loud. And was simple in concept but terrifying in practice. They would approach the Armada using the asteroid field as cover. When they got close enough, every ship would execute a micro-jump at exactly the same moment. They would appear inside the enemy formation and start shooting before the aliens knew what was happening. Served in the fleet for 20 years. He had fought pirates and rebels and even a few skirmishes with alien raiders. Nothing had prepared him for this. Nothing could prepare anyone for flying into the teeth of 12,000 enemy warships. The fire bay below, Ensign Mario was running final checks on her spacecraft. She was 24 years old and had graduated from flight school less than a year ago. The other pilots in her squadron looked just as young and just as scared. Into her cockpit and strapped herself in. Her hands were shaking slightly as she activated the control system. A photograph was taped to her console showing her parents and her younger brother standing outside their home in New Mexico. She ducked the picture gently and took a deep breath. Engineer Perry walked through the lower decks of the Blackwood, making sure everything was ready. He was the oldest member of the crew at 58 years old. He had seen a lot of battles and fixed a lot of broken ships. Tonight, he would need every bit of that experience. Engines are running smooth, he reported to the bridge. Power systems at full capacity. We are ready. Acknowledged the report and checked the time. 15 minutes until midnight. 15 minutes until they either made history or became history. Across the fleet, similar scenes were playing out on every ship. Captain gave quiet orders. Engineers made last adjustments. Pilots said silent prayers. Everyone knew that many of them would not survive the next few hours. Admiral's voice came through the fleet communication channel. Her words were calm and measured. "Ships, this is the Admiral. We are approaching the jump point. Remember your training and trust your fellow officers. We are not just fighting for ourselves tonight. We are fighting for everyone who ever lived on Earth and everyone who ever will. Make every shot count. Good luck." Channel went quiet, looked at his tactical officer, and nodded. The young man's fingers hovered over the jump controls. Mint sent out to his crew, "All hands to battle station." Blackwood hummed with energy as weapons powered up and shields activated. Around them, the other ships of the fleet did the same. The asteroid field fell away behind them as they entered open space. The Armada hung in the darkness like a swarm of angry insects. Their ships were massive, each one 5 times the size of the largest human vessel. They bristled with weapons and glowed with the light of alien technology. 12,000 engines created a constellation of death. Aliens had no idea what was coming. Their sensors were pointed toward Earth, waiting for the sun to rise over their target. They expected their enemy to cower and defend. They expected fear and surrender. They did not expect 800 human warships to appear in the middle of their formation at exactly midnight. "Jump in 3, 2, 1 mark." They twisted around the human fleet, stars stretched in lines of light, reality bent and folded, and then, in less than a heartbeat, everything changed. Blackwood materialized between 2 battleships, so close they could see the alien symbol painted on their hulls. For one frozen moment, nothing happened. Then the human ships opened fire. A streak crossed the gaps between vessels. Enemy beams cut through alien armor like knives through paper. Explosions bloomed in the darkness, bright orange and yellow against the black. No time to react. Their command system could not process what was happening. Enemy ships were everywhere, shooting at point-blank range. Alarms screamed across thousands of bridges as the aliens scrambled to respond. Her fired through the chaos, weaving between massive alien warships that seemed frozen in confusion. She locked onto a cruiser and fired her missile. The weapon struck the enemy ship's engine section and tore it apart from the inside. The kill, she reported, already searching for her next target. Blackwood shuddered as it took fire from a nearby enemy vessel, gripped his chair and shouted orders to his crew. "Return fire, all weapons. Do not let them find their balance." Destroyer's guns blazed in response. The attacking ship exploded seconds later, adding its debris to the growing cloud of destruction. In engineering, Perry worked frantically to keep the ship running. Damage reports were coming in from multiple sections. Power fluctuations threatened the weapon systems, but the old engineer refused to let his ship fail. "On, old girl," he muttered as he rerouted power through backup systems. "Hold together for me." Across the battlefield, human ships danced through the formation like wolves among sheep. They were smaller and faster, able to turn and strike before the massive alien vessels could bring their weapons to bear. The microjump technology let them vanish and reappear, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted. The first 10 minutes, over 2,000 ships were destroyed. The aliens had never experienced anything like this. Their proud armada was being torn apart by an enemy that should have been easily crushed. Admiral watched the battle from her flagship and allowed herself a small smile. The plan was working, but she knew that it was only the beginning. They would recover eventually. They would organize and fight back. "Ships," she ordered, "execute phase 2, hit them again and then disappear. Do not let them catch their breath." The fleet jumped again, vanishing from one part of the enemy formation and appearing in another. Fresh explosions lit up the darkness. More alien ships died. Night was still young, and humanity was just getting started. Battle had been raging for 2 hours when Commander Lisa Grant received her new orders. Her squadron of 6 stealth frigates was to slip deeper into the enemy formation and cause as much chaos as possible. I read the orders twice and then looked at her crew. They were tired and scared, but they were still fighting. That was all she could ask for. "Heard the Admiral," she said. "We are going hunting." Frigates activated their stealth system and vanished from center. They moved slowly through the battlefield, sliding past burning wreckage and confused alien ships. They were trying to organize a response, but every time they formed up, human ships would appear and scatter them again. One of the damaged command ships, Sergeant Major P. Collins led his Marine boarding team through dark corridors. Their mission was simple: get inside, gather intelligence, sabotage what they could, and get out. He had been a Marine for 30 years. He had fought in dozens of battles across a dozen worlds, but he had never seen anything quite like the inside of an alien warship. Walls were covered with strange symbols that seemed to glow faintly. The air smelled wrong, too sweet and too thick. Emergency lights flickered overhead, casting moving shadows that made everyone jumpy. Sharp Collins whispered to his team, "Wide your corners." Moved through the ship systematically, downloading data from computer terminals and planting explosives on key systems. The crew was in complete disorder. Some had abandoned their posts entirely. Others wandered the corridors in a daze, unable to process what was happening. Collins and his team avoided contact when possible. They were not here to fight. They were here to learn and destroy. On the frigates, Dr. Santos was analyzing the data coming in from the boarding teams. She was a who had spent her career studying alien species. Tonight, her knowledge was being put to a very different use. "I think I understand now," she said suddenly, looking up from her screen. Grant turned to face her. "Understand what?" "They are falling apart so quickly." Santos pulled up an image of the home world. "Their planet is tightly locked. One side always faces their sun. They evolved in constant light. They have never experienced true darkness." Grant nodded slowly. "The Admiral mentioned something about that." "More than just unfamiliarity," Santos explained. "Darkness triggers a deep fear response in their species. It is built into their biology, and we have been fighting them in the dark for hours. We have been hitting them and vanishing before they can respond. To them, it must feel like being hunted by goats." Commander smiled grimly. "Then let us give them more ghosts to fear." In a channel to the other frigates in her squadron, "All ships, cut your running lights completely. Go dark, and someone find me a way to disable their internal lighting." Frigates became shadows, invisible against the blackness of space. They drifted through the formation like predators circling wounded prey. The command ship, Collins found what he was looking for: the main power distribution center. His demolition expert quick planted charges on the critical system. "This will knock out lights across the entire vessel," the expert reported. But Collins replied, "Let them see what it feels like to be afraid of the dark." Treated to their extraction point and triggered the explosives. The command ship went dark. Emergency power failed. Backup systems died. Thousands of soldiers and crew members were suddenly plunged into absolute blackness. Screening started almost immediately. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. Human boarding teams and stealth ships targeted power systems and lighting wherever they could. The massive warships became tombs of darkness and terror. Watched her centers as the enemy fleet began to fragment. Ships that had been holding formation started drifting apart. Some accelerated away from the battle entirely, their crews too panicked to follow orders. Others opened fire on shadows, hitting their own allies in the confusion. Shooting each other, her tactical officer reported in disbelief. It was nodded sadly. Fear makes people do terrible things, and they are very afraid right now. Admiral received the reports and adjusted her strategy accordingly. She ordered her ships to focus on the enemy command vessels, taking out leaders and communication hubs. Without coordination, the Armada would tear itself apart. The human fleet continued its deadly dance through the darkness. Strike and vanish, strike and vanish. Never give the enemy target, never let them rest. Then his marines extracted from the command ship and watched it drift, dead and dark. Secondary explosions rippled through its hull as damaged systems failed. Escape pods launched in all directions, fleeing a vessel that had become a nightmare. Hours into the battle, they had lost over 6,000 ships. Some were destroyed by human weapons. Many more were lost to accidents, friendly fire, and blind panic. The greatest invasion fleet in galactic history was being defeated not just by guns and missiles, but by fear itself. And brought her frigates back to the main fleet for resupply and repairs. Her crew was exhausted but alive. They had done their part. Admirals looked out at the chaos they had helped create. Part of her felt sorry for them. They had come here expecting an easy victory. Instead, they had found their deepest fears made real. Then she remembered what the aliens had planned to do to Earth. They had wanted to burn her world and kill everyone on it. Her sympathy faded quickly after that. Night was not over yet. Dawn was still hours away, and humanity was not finished teaching them about the darkness. Of hours into the battle, Admiral made a decision that would determine the fate of the species. The Armada was wounded and confused, but it was not dead. The alien Supreme Commander was still alive aboard his massive flagship, trying desperately to restore order to his forces. As long as that ship survived, the enemy could recover, knew what she had to do. Ships she announced over the fleet channel. Final phase, we are going for their flagship, everything we have left right at their heart. Martinez commanded the carrier USS New Haven, one of the largest ships remaining in the human fleet. She had watched the battle unfold from her bridge, launching fire squadrons and recovering damaged craft. Now she would lead her ship into the most dangerous assault of the night. Set course for the enemy flagship, she ordered. All fighters prepare for launch. Haven turned toward the center of the formation. Around her, dozens of other human ships fell into formation. They were battered and from hours of combat. Many had taken serious damage, but they were still fighting. He sat at his station aboard the Admiral's flagship, coordinating the movements of the entire fleet. His fingers flew across the controls, adjusting positions and timing. Every ship had to hit the enemy flagship at exactly the right moment. There was no room for error. "Is in position, Admiral," he reported. "Ready on your command." The tactical display one last time. The flagship was enormous, larger than a small moon. It bristled with weapons and was surrounded by what remained of the alien escort fleet. Getting close enough to destroy it would cost them dearly. There was no other choice. The battle had to end now before the enemy could regroup. Ships said quietly, "Attack." The fleet surged forward. Fighters launched from carriers and formed hat waves. Destroyers and cruisers accelerated to maximum speed. Missiles and energy beams reached out toward the enemy. Defenders tried to respond, but they were too slow and too infused. Human ship punched through their lines and headed straight for the flagship. Explosions lit up the darkness as vessels on both sides were destroyed. His guided the New Haven through the chaos, her ship taking hit after hit. Damage reports flooded the bridge, but she ignored them. Only the target mattered now. "Launch all remaining fighters," she ordered. "Everything we have." As a small craft poured from the carrier's bays and streaked toward the flagship. Ensign was among them, her fighter battered but still flying. She had lost track of how many enemy ships she had destroyed tonight. It did not matter anymore. Only this final mission mattered. Flagship opened fire with everything it had. Massive energy beams swept through space, destroying human ship by the dozen. Missiles launched in thick clouds, seeking targets. The alien Supreme Commander was fighting for his life, and he knew it. The humans kept coming. For every ship that fell, 3 more took its place. They swarmed around the flagship like angry bees, stinging it from every direction. Then his marines had transferred to an assault shuttle during the approach. Their new mission was to breach the flagship's hull and fight their way to the command center. It was almost certainly a suicide mission, but they had all volunteered. The shuttle dodged through defensive fire and slammed into the flagship's hull. Cutting charges blew a hole in the armor. Collins led his team through the breach and into the alien ship. Inside, they found chaos. The crew was panicking. Alarms screamed from every peaker. The lights flickered and died as human ships outside continued their assault. "Fast," Collins ordered. "The command center is 5 levels up." They fought their way through corridors filled with smoke and debris. Soldiers tried to stop them, but the aliens were disorganized and terrified. The marines cut through them like a knife through cloth. The flagship was dying. Its shields had failed. Its weapons were going silent one by one. Massive holes had been torn in its hull, venting atmosphere and crew into space. We'll watch the destruction with grim satisfaction. They were winning. Against all odds, against every calculation, they were actually winning. Collins reported in. "We have reached the command center, breaching now." Marines blew the doors and stormed inside. The Supreme Commander stood at the center of the room, surrounded by his guards. He was tall and thin, with pale skin that had never known darkness. His eyes were wide with fear and disbelief. Collins raised his weapon. "This is for Earth." Guards tried to protect their leader, but it was too late. The Marines opened fire. The Supreme Commander fell, and with him fell the last hope of the invasion. Word of his death spread through the alien fleet like wildfire. The chain of command, already weakened by hours of chaos, collapsed entirely. Ship captains made their own decisions. Most chose to run. As the battlefield, vessels began jumping away. Their formation dissolved as every captain tried to save their own ship. Some went in random directions, their navigation systems damaged or their crews too panicked to think clearly. Others tried to surrender, broadcasting messages of submission that no human had ever heard from before. Let them go. Her fleet was too exhausted to pursue. They had accomplished what they set out to do. To the tactical display and let out a long breath. "Admiral, the enemy is retreating. We have won." Not celebrate. She was thinking of all the ships they had lost, all the good people who had died tonight. The victory was real, but so was the cost. "The lost ships," she said quietly. "Stand down from battle stations. Collect our survivors. It is over." Guns fell silent. The explosions faded. In the darkness of space, the remains of 2 great fleets drifted among the stars. Dawn was coming. The sun rose over Earth on a world that did not know how close it had come to dying. 7 billion people woke up and went about their morning routines, unaware that hundreds of thousands of soldiers had fought and died to protect them through the night. Admiral stood at the same observation window where she had planned the attack just hours earlier. The battle was over. The Armada had vanished, scattered to the distant corners of the galaxy. Earth was safe. The cost had been terrible. 200 human ships had been destroyed. Over 40,000 men and women had lost their lives, knew many of them by name. She would carry their memory for the rest of her days. And approached her quietly. He had not slept at all, but there was a lightness in his step that had not been there before. Admiral, we have a commander who wants to speak with you. He surrendered his ship during the battle. He says he needs to understand what happened. Considered this for a moment, then she nodded. Bring him to the conference room, I will speak with him. Officer was named. He had commanded a heavy cruiser that was now floating dead in space, captured by human marines. His pale skin looked even paler under the harsh lights of the station. His eyes, adapted to eternal day, squinted against the brightness. He brought him into the conference room and left him standing before the Admiral. He did not look like a proud conqueror anymore. He looked like someone whose entire understanding of the universe had been shattered. You wish to speak with me, said calmly. Slowly, I have served the Empire for 40 cycles. I have fought in 17 campaigns against 11 different species. We have never lost, not once. We were the strongest force in the galaxy. How did you defeat us? Down and gestured for the alien to do the same. Hesitated, then lowered himself into a chair designed for human bodies. He looked uncomfortable, but he was too tired to care. Empire made a mistake, began. You assumed that bigger and stronger always wins. You built the largest fleet ever assembled and pointed it at a world you thought was weak, but you did not understand what you were fighting. In forward, I read the reports on your species before the invasion. You are not particularly strong. Your technology is adequate but not superior. Your population is large but not exceptional. By every measure, you should have been easy to conquer. While slightly, those reports missed something important. Humans did not become the dominant species on Earth by being the biggest or the strongest. We survived because we learned to be clever. We learned to work together, and we learned to hunt in the darkness. Alien shook his head in confusion. Darkness. My people have never understood the concept. Our world has no night. There is only light, endless and eternal. And O replied, and that is why you lost. Your soldiers had never experienced true darkness. When we attacked at midnight and took away your lights, you felt fear for the first time. That fear broke you more than our weapons ever could. Silent for a long moment, he seemed to be processing this information, trying to fit it into his understanding of the universe. I'm here to destroy you, he said finally. Every man, woman, and child on your planet. We were going to burn your world to ash, and instead you destroyed us. Not destroyed, corrected him, defeated. There is a difference. Your fleet is scattered, but your empire still exists. Your people still live on their bright world. We did not come to exterminate you. We just wanted to survive. Commander looked at her with something that might have been respect, or perhaps it was simply exhaustion. You could have killed us all. After what we planned to do, no one would have blamed you. Shook her head, that is not who we are. Humans can be terrible when we need to be. You learned that night, but we can also show mercy. We can choose to be better than our enemies. Stood and walked to the window. Outside, rescue ships were moving through the debris field, searching for survivors from both sides. Human and enemies just hours ago now worked together to save lives. Master Frank was already preparing diplomatic messages to send across the galaxy. The news of Earth's victory would spread quickly. Species that had lived under domination for centuries would hear that the mighty empire had been humbled by a small blue world that refused to die. The Admiral at the window. The other alien species are already reacting. We are seeing messages from dozens of worlds. They want to know how we did it. They want to know if we can help them. Slowly, the galaxy had changed overnight. Earth was no longer a minor world on the edge of known space. They had proven themselves to be something more, something dangerous and compassionate in equal measure. Stood and approached them, his guards sensed but waved them back. What happens now, the alien asked. We talk, replied. We figure out how to live together in the galaxy without trying to kill each other. Your empire has ruled through fear for too long. Maybe it is time for something different. Turn to face him directly. Humanity has a saying. The night is darkest just before the dawn. We have been through the dark together, Commander. Now the sun is rising. What we do with this new day is up to all of us. Got the window at Earth, blue and green and beautiful in the morning light. The world that should have been destroyed was still there, still alive, still home to billions of people who would never know how close it came to oblivion. Come to bring destruction. They had found something else entirely. They had found a species that would not be broken, would not surrender, would not give up no matter the odds. They had found humanity. The galaxy would never be the same. The sun climbed higher over Earth. Admiral allowed herself to feel something she had not felt in days. Hope. The battle was over. The future was uncertain. But for the first time in a very long time, that uncertainty felt like a promise rather than a threat. Had one more thing to do before she could rest. She opened a communication channel to the entire fleet. Admiral, the enemy has retreated. Earth is safe. I know many of you lost friends tonight. I know the cost we paid was high. But because of your courage and sacrifice, billions of people will see tomorrow. Your names will be remembered for as long as humanity exists. Rest now. You have earned it. Out. Closed the channel and finally let her shoulders drop. Guided her toward her quarters, insisting she needed sleep. Behind them, through the observation window, the sun continued to rise over a world that had survived its darkest night. And somewhere in the vats of space, the scattered remnants of the Armada carried a warning back to their empire. Not challenge humanity in the darkness. They were born for it.